Games, board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and today I'm going to talk about, whilst I repeat, I will not shout, I will talk about all the games that I did play test. Yesterday was the best. I went out and I saw at Royal Festival Hall David Brain and Andrew and Danilo and Mandela. Why was I making a noise? It's Mandela. And Mandela, and most of all, it was the connections with the other people. And it was a playtest and it was wonderful. Board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. And hello and good morning and welcome, or whatever time it is, whenever you're watching, to another Bezzy Beats and Briefer Blether. This is episode 421, I think. Anyway, so after the 300s, I decided to make it all briefer, and that is what I'm trying to do. So I'm adding some keyboard for the 400s. I'm adding some keyboard playing, and I'm making it briefer. Today, I'm basically going to talk about the things I playtested yesterday. This was the first game I playtested yesterday. I'll talk about a couple of thoughts about playtesting. Basically, I want to say that, is it worth iterating as you go along? Is it worth keeping the game the same? I think I might talk about why we felt like for Pantheon it wasn't correct to change the game halfway through, and why for my game it was okay to change it halfway through. Like, when should you change your game's rules halfway through? When should you end a game? And how important is the social aspect to a playtest? And yeah, I think it was Danilo who raised a really good point. What is the purpose of our playtest anyway? Is it to foster, people? Is it to build up the community? Or is it to, frankly, selfishly playtest our own games? And whilst I would love to build up the community, it has to be mainly the latter. And if people are turned away because they find our feedback too harsh, then frankly that's on them. But I will talk about those three things about playtesting. First of all, let me talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights. Recent highlights, playing games and other delights. So yesterday was Friday, and as usual on Friday, I say as usual, but given the pandemic, we have been out of practice. As I mentioned to David Brain, I'm out of practice of just keeping an empty bottle so that I can use it for tap water and take some tap water with me to the Royal Festival Hall. But yeah, as used to be usual, and as I hope will once again become usual, we were playtesting at Royal Festival Hall around Waterloo in London. We start meeting up at 10 a.m, that's the plan. By 11 a.m, the hope is that everyone will be there ready to playtest. I got there a little later than I would have liked. Quite a bit later. I got there maybe 10:40, but it was still better than last time. And hello, Rob Harper. I hope that your game design things went well yesterday. And feel free to tell me what was a recent highlight for you, because that is the section. It is lovely to have you. So, yeah, I had a bit of a chat with David Brain and Andrew who came along, and Danilo, and then soon enough we were playing Danilo's game called Pantheon. Pantheon is a game of... I don't know how to describe it. It's a game of set collection, grabbing cards. There's a little bit of flipping cards in the middle. You get to peek one, flip one, take one, then you've got to drown one, which is basically getting rid of one from the center. And if you build up particular sets, then you will be able to bank some cards, and the objective of the game was to bank 9 different cards. David Brain and I both had a very similar idea. First we started off, because there's no hand limit, okay, we're going to take advantage of that, and then suddenly we realised, oh my gosh, we could grab all 5 of one thing to stop anyone else from ever winning. And this was at the point where if we had been playing to the normal objective, the game would have been about halfway done. But it was a little bit longer than what Danilo wanted. Now, Danilo, earlier on, because the cards have special effects, green lets you look through the discard pile, yellow lets you take something from the table, and red, I can't even remember what it was. Yeah, red was rubbish. Anyway, so at some point Danilo said, oh, what if red allows you to bank some of the things? Maybe we can change that halfway through the game. And as I said at the start of the show, I want to talk about this because changing something like that halfway through the game is going to change what you feel you ought to have done earlier on. If suddenly red became the only way to win the game, like you've got to bank 9 cards and you have to have red cards in order to be even able to bank, then suddenly I would be thinking, well, I need to grab all the red cards. And I wish I'd been grabbing all the red cards since the start. Conversely, there are some games where, frankly, there is no strategy. There is what Gil Hova and other people call about the atom of the game. In a party game, so what is this parts of the game that can be divided and nothing before and nothing after really affects it? I'm not sure that atom is really the best word for this concept, but consider Yogi, okay? In Yogi, the whole game is one unit. You can't just draw one card and understand the game. You have to draw a series of cards. But consider a magician, which is over there to the side. In a magician, you're drawing a picture, and then next round you draw another picture, and each picture that you do is completely separate. It's not like your performance in previous rounds affects this or anything. And some people could consider this the attribute of a really high quality party game. That's something like Apples to Apples, where what I played earlier in the game doesn't affect anything. Someone can come in and join the game, and that's a really nice attribute for a game, for people to be able to just jump in. And when you have a game that has that attribute, and look, even consider, Liar's Dice. Sure, you lose the lives, but fundamentally each round is its own unit. Whereas if you had built up some sort of hand, like you would be doing in this game, Pantheon, then yeah, changing the rules halfway through is problematic. So that's one thing that I wanted to get out there. Anyway, Pantheon felt like a really promising game. Not a fan of... David and I both worked out that, okay, if we keep and hoard all 5 cards of one type, then no one else can win. But yeah, at that point we're like, oh, wait, maybe this should be an alternate win condition. And for me, that's the other lesson, that if something about the game feels broken, then maybe you can lean into that. Maybe that so-called broken thing board can actually be part of your game. And I think it's so important to kind of think about what the rules actually lead to. Not just what you want them to lead to, but the joyful things of what the rules are implying, what they can do, and yeah, let the game be that. Rob made a bit of progress on something I'm working on with Bevan Clatsworthy, lovely person. Also watched and chatted in a stream by a photographer who was editing photos from the LARP event we were at last weekend. Oh, fantastic. Wait a minute, is this the event with the Little Miss doing some musical things? And also Rob managed to do a little gardening. That does sound delightful. Thank you for sharing those highlights. I hope you have a wonderful day today as well. I'm going to... so that was Pantheon by Danilo. Let me try and... There we go. Oh yes. So Royal Festival Hall does have a lovely market outside. It's got a food market where you can buy Thai, Korean, Mexican, Indian. I think there's even some British food. Like there sometimes is a pie place, but this is what I think is called a bibimbap. It's a little bed of rice upon which is loads of different vegetables, and you get so many different flavors. And then you get a fried egg and a little bit of either tofu or meat. I asked them, would he be willing to do me a bit of pork and a bit of tofu, and they agreed. I was disappointed with the tofu, I have to admit. Sometimes tofu is really excellent, but this felt kind of a bit bland and... But yeah, it's parts of the highlights of my weeks, I must admit, kind of going here and looking forward to, I get to wander around and see all the different nationalities of food and then decide what I'm going to put into my face for the next couple of hours as we playtest. And there's a little close-up of the egg and the kimchi and the pork, and that was just wonderful. And yeah, I would say that it was... although going back to Pantheon, that it's a bit difficult to... Rob says that looks like a good game, though the board is a bit messy. It's hard to... I think it's really hard to say what a game is like from looking at it. I mean, I've tried to stop myself from saying this looks fun or this looks good and just say this looks pretty, because that's the thing. But having said that, with prototype, I mean, I can say this looks intriguing or this looks like it might be really good. Or no, Rob, I'm not having a go at you, but it's just kind of my own pondering, because it's really interesting about the difference of, like, people all do react, and I do that. I do kind of jump to conclusions about what a game might be like, and I see puzzle pieces and I'm like, I hope that these puzzle pieces are used in an interesting way, but quite often they're not. Rob says, normally an egg isn't a good thing in the middle of the board, but tofu makes an innovative component. Okay, on from food, and let's talk about one of the LDEC games. So this is us playing Bluffable. This is with the couple deck, which is drawn by Miles Atkinson. Oh, Rob says, okay, I get it now. The lunch looks like a good game, although the board is a bit messy. Okay, thanks for clarifying. Very droll, very droll. So, yeah, this game was formerly known as Bluffable, although I'm going to use my editorial privilege and say that it cannot be known as Bluffable because there's not really any bluffing. I'm calling it Braggable, because you're basically bragging that I will do this thing, and then other people say, no, I don't think you can. And then eventually someone reveals all their cards, everyone else reveals all their cards, and then you have a bit of time to make a word that matched the criteria that you said. The bluff bit of Bluffable is a bluff, says Rob. Exactly. The game is bluffing. It's not bluffing at all. Oh, man. So, yeah. We played it maybe 3 rounds. Back to the comments about changing game rules on the fly. This is one that, because each round, it doesn't really impact the next ones. We decided that there does need to be a little bit of liar's dice. Okay, you lose a card and you lose a life essentially each time that you are wrong. But still, each round is essentially separate. So we played 3 rounds as written, which took about half an hour. And then we played another 3 rounds in a variety of manners, which took another half hour. It might have been 3 or 4. I think it was 3 the second time around. Anyway, so originally, as written, you go around saying, I can make, for example, a 7-letter word worth 30 points. And the number of points is represented by the numbers on the cards. As we started iterating, we decided to get rid of the points. It was an interesting thing, but it was too much maths, too much calculation, and it made the reveal less exciting because it wasn't like, I have the letters that I need to make the word that I'm thinking of. So we started just saying, okay, you have to make a 4-letter word, 5-letter word, 6-letter word. Speaking of which, we decided that there needed to be rules of how much you can increase the bidding by. We tried it with, okay, you can increase the bidding by 0 or 1 letter. But then if you don't increase the length, then the number needs to increase. And then after we got rid of the numbers, we just said, okay, you need to either increase the length of the word that you're aiming to make by 1, or you need to say, I'm going to do it in a unique manner. But maybe that should have been the case anyway. With 5 players, the dynamic was very different compared with 3. And I think it was better partially just because of the number of cards on the table. I do think that with fewer players, there should have been a rule to say, put some extra face-down cards on the table just to represent the other players, so you're not quite sure what's going to come. Because that's part of the game, not knowing what's going to be around the table when you actually go, okay, I can make a 10-letter word. I'm sure there must be an E somewhere. And then you look, and there's not. You're like, there's no E. I can't make the 10-letter word that I had in my mind. Also, because of the way that the scoring worked, we decided that it was a bit sad that so many people just weren't involved, weren't feeling engaged when someone was trying to make a word. So then we added in a betting system where you said, okay, I believe that they'll make their word, or I don't believe. And if you bet correctly, then you would get some points. So immediately, either you're supporting them and you're like, haha, I believe in them, now I'm invested, I want them to do the thing. or you're thinking, oh, I hope they don't do their thing. And then the person who's making the word is either, haha, all these people are supporting me, brilliant, I've got to make the word, or, oh my gosh, these people are against me, well, I'll show them, I'll stop them from getting their points, and I'll get my points for making the word. The one downside, I definitely feel like we ended up in a nicer game than we started with. The one downside is that only one person gets the interesting part of making the word, and that's something that I can't really change. I don't think you can have everyone getting a turn to make a word without. Yeah, it's just, I remember making a somewhat similar game a few years ago, and that, I think, was the reason why I stopped working on it. But anyway, it's a solid game. It might be one of the finalists. There is potential here for sure. Now we made this game, and, well, we played this game, I should say. We also iterated on it, enough that I would say we made it. It is a game about grabbing creatures that are totally different and watching out for turnips. This is the new name. It used to be just a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different. But now there's a whole secondary aspect to it about watching out for turnips. The person in the white shirt is called Andrew. I can't remember their surname. I will have to find it for credits. But yeah, let me describe what the game is about first. So as you might see here, you've got some creatures. There's 3 different types of eyes that they might have. They might have 4 eyes, which is lots, 2 eyes, or 1 eye. There's 3 different mouths, 2 different body shapes, and 3 different leg styles. The game is all about spotting pairs of creatures that are completely different, by which I mean they match nothing. It's a minor twist on the typical speed grabbing game, where instead of matching, it's about not matching and making sure that nothing is the same. We played it 3 times. 1 time was the basic, okay, things come out, you find a match, you either score points if it's correct or you score negative if it's wrong. Second time we played it, it was very similar to Grabble, the game for the L deck. And you weren't having to match pairs, you weren't having to find pairs, you were just trying to not match the previous card. Then the third game was a high energy, pass the deck left. The person on the left now has to deal 2 cards before they can pass the deck left. The cards that you deal out can't be touching any other card. If I were to redo it, I would say, okay, if they do touch any cards, then you have to take them as penalty points. And so there's a little bit of a dexterity aspect to it, and in the middle of the table, it's a race to find pairs as these things are coming out. Interestingly to me, there was only one version that David Brain said they would be willing to replay. To be fair, David does hate this kind of game, but I think it is a good quality of the Grabble system that you're doing your own little thing. You don't have to be the first to spot the match and then have other people disrupt you and then eventually feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to find a match faster than anyone else, I'm just giving up. But yeah, I went home pondering about the probabilities. Currently, and I think this is correct, there's about 14% chance of 2 creatures being a non-match. By which I mean, if you look at any 2 creatures, and actually I can... I was about to say I found a non-match in the bottom right, but then their mouths are matching, so that wouldn't count. I'm thinking that during the second game, it did feel a little bit harder than I wanted. And I worked out maths to raise it up to 33%. Or would that be too high? I don't know. The other thing I like about the current maths is it's 3 times 3 times 2 times 3, which does equal 54, which is obviously very nice if you're making a deck of cards. Anyway, so the turnip idea. Where did that come in? Well, at the end, Andrew said like they wanted something extra, some additional bit to the game. They said maybe have one card, and that one card is a turnip. And then Andrew looked around the table and said, I don't know what the turnip would do. Maybe you have to shout something, or maybe everyone has to sit down or stand up. But looking around, everyone's smiling at the thought of a turnip, which makes me think that maybe you should put it in the game. This was all what Andrew said. And Andrew was right. People were looking around the table and just smiling at the idea of having a turnip in this game, like a completely incongruous turnip. And quickly, the idea of what the turnip would do came about. So, you can pick up a turnip, and the turnip matches none of the creatures because it doesn't have any of the eyes or mouths or body or legs. So after you've picked up a turnip, you can then pick up any other creature. But if you pick up 2 turnips accidentally, you've lost the game. So you can't pick up 2 turnips. The game is about watching out for the turnips. You can pick up your first, that's okay, but if you've got 2 turnips, that's too many. You just automatically lose. And in my mind, I'm thinking, let's say this is a game for 7 players. If in the deck I have 14 turnips, that means that towards the end, you're going to get to a state where hopefully there will be just 7 turnips on the table, and that will be the end of the game. Like something about maybe someone says only turnips, and they get bonus points if they're correct, they lose if they're wrong. But yeah, that is my idea. Anyway. Hello, Alex. It is lovely to see you. And Rob says, get up stand up for your turnips. And that sounds like a real turnip for the books. That's one sweet. Oh, you peeps. Anyway, but yeah, that's the turnip idea. And I think I need to mull over, and I think that could just be it. It's like, as soon as someone says only turnips, then if they are right, they get 2 bonus points. 2 might be enough. I don't think it's a particularly high scoring game. And then if they are wrong, then they lose automatically. Because it's that kind of harsh game. If you make one mistake, you lose. Yeah. But that was a game about grabbing creatures that are totally different and watching out for turnips. Because I wrote that thing. And the final game that I played was by David Brain. Rail Island, as you can hopefully read from the screen there. Let me make it a wee bit bigger. This is David Brain's first ever roll and write. It's a roll and write version of a game that was originally a tile placement game that hasn't been published. And David said that the tile placement game didn't quite work, but provided a lot of inspiration for this version. So basically you've got 2 dice, you choose one of them to be the railroad, one of them to be a landmark, and the railroad can go basically anywhere as long as it's continuing an existing railroad. The landmark can go in any empty space, and a 5 is a train station which terminates. It's more of a terminal now I think about it. It's not even a train station. It should be called a terminal. Maybe I'll let David Bray know if I remember. But yeah, you're scoring for having 4 different kinds of landmarks in a set. That would be like 10 points. Only 3 would be 6 points. 2 is 3 and 1 is 1. And you're also scoring for landmarks being beside the terminal. You're also scoring for occupying the 6 corners. And it's very pleasant. You've got 6s are wild, which gives you a little bit more choice. But there's enough choice as you're going along because, as I say, the landmarks can go anywhere. And you've normally got at least 2 or 3 train lines that you could continue. But yeah, very pleasant game. A little bit more luck than I would personally have liked, but after we played it, it was a case of, oh, this is nice, suggesting thing after thing and saying, yeah, you could do this, but probably wouldn't work. And it was what's commonly called a blind test that I still haven't found another better word for. But yeah, that was David Brain's game, and it is super lovely, super wonderful. And David Brain mentioned that they were very much inspired by Ellie Dix's game Minitown, which is just very pleasant. Rob says, if you have 2 turnips, you have to parsnip to the right. Oh, if you have 2 turnips, you have to parsnip to the right. Parsnip. I'm struggling. I don't get it, sorry. Alex says, yes, that's the main route to equality. Surely this should be entitled A Game About Rolling Dice and Using the Results to Draw Railways on an Island. That's how titles work these days, right? I will let David know. Yeah, that sounds really snappy and easily remembered, says Alex. I know, right? Says Rob. But yeah, the game is Rail Island. I mean, to be fair, the thing about my games is that's going to be the thing for all the new Bezzy budget bags from now on. It's like the Bezzy budget bag thing. Bezzy budget bags, they don't get a snappy title. Their title is anywhere between 10 and 20-ish words. But the thing I like about it is that as soon as I tell you the title, it's like, would you like to play a game about drawing creatures, complimenting those drawings, then complimenting the compliments? You're like, I don't need to ask you about what the game is about. You've just told me what the game is about. And so, yeah, that is something I like about those. And the box tells you exactly what the game is. So it's not like people have said about the L deck. People said, couple, can you remind me which one that is? Although normally not about couple. They might say, draftable, which one is that? Or quintuple, which one is that? And I'm saying nothing. I mean, I've already trolled them as much as I could. Am I wearing something under this? Yep. It's a bit hot. I think it starts heating up when I've got... I don't think there's heat coming... But yeah, having something pressing against your legs, because I don't have a proper keyboard stand set up here. Anyway, the final of my recent highlights is, and the photo that I will share, is this cat. The cat was here when I was home, and that's a nice cat. And so, yep, that's the end of my recent highlights, and I think I said that I'd talk about some things to do with playtesting. I think playtesting, there's so many reasons to playtest. You can playtest just to see, does this work? To confirm what you already expected. And hello, J Foolsguard, it is lovely to see you. Thank you for popping in. I hope that you're generally well. I think that's one good thing sometimes about playtesting at Royal Festival Hall, is that I get more ideas. Like the first time that I playtested a game about grabbing creatures that are totally different and watching out for turnips yesterday, David mentioned how much they checked out of that game about halfway through and compared it to Grabble, which made me think, oh, maybe this game would work with a Grabble component. Because I'm trying to distinguish it from my other speed matching game that I'm working on, which is a game about matching words to pictures. And I think, yes, ultimately it is the job of the designer to work out what game do you want to make. Don't let other people bully you into making something that you didn't want to make. But if the mechanisms are leading somewhere, then go along with it. That's my tip of the day. And that's appropriate, and I am going to finish up soon anyway. So firstly, we've had it is literally just recent highlights, and then it is over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. So if there's anything that you want to share, anything, I promise I care, anything that you're looking forward to, something that you maybe need to do, if there's hopes and ambitions, if you want to share something about your situation, I promise you can share anything. Oh wait, I forgot the questionably quick question section. Yeah, I'll just talk about a brilliant thing. Brilliant thing, what's a little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant thing is being flexible, changing a game how you should change it. That's my brilliant thing for today. Anyway, back to the anything you want to share. So, yeah, if anyone has anything that they want to share, then please go ahead. I am going to share that tomorrow. I am looking forward to Sunday at Salisbury. If you're in North London, if you are able to get to the area, then feel free to join us. I am playing Roots. I'm quite excited about that. If you have played Roots before, or if you're willing to take a bit of time to read through the instructions and learn, because there is a lot going on, and if you are just coming to it without learning, you will slow the game down like the fifth player. But Roots, I'm really excited to be playing it again tomorrow. Also, after that, like, it's an all-day event. It's from like 12:30 until like 9 or something. After that, like at 4-ish, I'm just going to be playing some light games with some other folk. I'll take a few things. That's all I want to share for the moment. Okay, Rob wants to share a questionably quick question. Which is better, a cat that thinks it's a duck, or a duck that thinks it's a cat? Well, if a cat thinks it's a duck, then it might drown itself, whereas a duck that thinks it's a cat is probably going to be okay. So I think a duck that thinks it's a cat is better. I disagree with J Foolsguard, but, we've got room for all sorts of opinions here. Now, I wish I had weighted keys. I really miss playing a... Anyway, it's been a lovely chat, and thank you to Jay Guard, Rob, Alex for watching, and anybody else who might be lurking or watching after the fact. Thank you. But special thanks to those three for keeping me company and making comments. And I want to give also a shout out to the cat. This is a lovely cat. And I want to give a shout out to all the people who contributed to the playtest yesterday. David Brain and Ellie Dix indirectly, and Danilo and Andrew and Mandela. And I want to also give a random thanks to the person who made my bike. I know that there's a lot of machinery and a lot of different people involved, but I think that having a bike is brilliant, and I just want to give thanks to the people who made my bike, and also the people who did the internet, and anyway. But it's been a lovely show. I talked about playtesting, the games I playtested, the cat, about turnips. We had some turnip puns. One of them I didn't understand, but that's okay. And yeah, that was basically it. And for now, if you want to check me out, you know where to check me out. Stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.bigcards.com, twitter.com/stuffbybez, that's probably where I'm most active. Instagram.com/stuffbybez, I try to share a picture every couple of days. Twitch.tv/stuffbybez, I am streaming every day at 10 AM UK time. YouTube.com/stuffbybez ditto. And also you can see the older episodes, but it's got a bit more lag. Stuffbybez.com/Discord is a place for my Discord. And once more, thank you everyone. If you want to check out my future streams, there isn't any information right now because I've not really planned any topics. I just wanted to see how it would go and try and keep these blethers a bit briefer and see how I get on. I've decided that Friday there is no topic, it's just a quick look at the streets, or maybe next week I'll make it to Royal Festival Hall by 10 AM, in which case it'll be, hey, look at Royal Festival Hall, here's where we playtest, and maybe that's interesting for a 5-minute video, I don't know. Is there anyone that we should raid on Twitch? Let's... We've got Sarah Viola Sings. I'm going to... Yeah, let's check out this musician. Wait, Cooking with Cody Chef. I'm just going to check out what else is going on. I mean, before in the 300s, I was really determined to always go forwards, but now it's kind of is that antithetical to the notion of doing something briefer? Because then it's... But, yeah. If you want to... If you're watching on Twitch and you want to check out someone who's doing some cooking, let's raid this person. And I'm going to type in the raid command. And for now, that is the end of the stream. Share, spread the word. If you're joining in the raid, copy and paste the message. Help us make a splash. And for now, the only thing left for me to say is thank you very much. And bye, 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 This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Depends on your perspective. I might be a wizard. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, Rob. Bye-bye, Jay Foolsguard. Bye-bye, Alex. Bye-bye, everyone else. Bye-bye for now. Ooh, leg's got little bits of cramp. I need to work out a more healthy way to have my keyboard. But yeah, bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.